Birch by Romeo Lane in Goa went up in flames on the December 6th night. 25 people lost their lives because of the owners who prioritized making money over safety. All norms were thrown to the wind. So how did it all start? Who benefited from it, if any? And why do we still not have key answers? Why did the Luthras escape only to be dragged back to India to face the law today? And as you see those visuals on your screens, these are the two brothers, the Luthra brothers, who own or co-own Birch by Romeo Lane in Goa, where the fire broke out and 25 people lost their lives. They are now going to be facing the law in India. Their 10-day vacation or an escapade in Thailand is now ending. The smoke has cleared over Birch, but the heat has shifted to the Luthra brothers. Their actions, their decisions, and most importantly, their abdication. Both Saurabh and Gaurav Luthra's Thailand escapade ended because India ensured that they come back to India, to Goa, where they will face the law. Both of them were dragged back to face the law and to bring justice to those people and their families who lost their lives in that Goa fire. In a case where coincidence feels increasingly unlikely, where every single detail matters and every unanswered question speaks volumes. On Plain Speak tonight, we cut through that smoke and we will take a hard look at the Luthra brothers and the fire that changed everything, because it looks like this is the tip of the iceberg as far as the scene in Goa is concerned, especially with nightclubs like these, with clubs like these functioning with absolutely no accountability. So here's what's going to happen next as far as the Luthra brothers go. They will be produced before court in just a short while from now, where the Goa police will be seeking a transit remand. Remember, they've been brought to Delhi from Thailand, but they do not have a case in Delhi, which is why they will have to be taken to Goa to face the law. Once that transit remand is secured from the court, the Goa police team, which is already in Delhi, will be transporting the Luthra brothers to Panji. The brothers will be formally arrested then there, and that is when the investigation will formally begin in Goa. They will be subjected to extended custodial interrogation regarding the fire, the alleged operational violations at their Birch by Romeo nightclub, and why exactly it is that they felt that they had to escape. Where was their responsibility? Why no accountability? That question will be put forth to them as well. The Goa police will then file their charge sheet in the case under sections of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which include provisions for imprisonment of up to 10 years if found guilty. Meanwhile, the investigation has brought to fore multiple allegations, multiple lapses. Following that inferno at the nightclub, these co-owners, the Luthra brothers, face heat not just for culpable homicide not amounting to murder, but also for the fact that the nightclub was flagged for multiple safety violations in the past. In fact, the whole property was built illegally is what we're learning. There are multiple demolition notices that have been issued by local authorities, but their operations continued. How? Why? Why did nobody stop them? What was the Gram Panchayat doing? What was the police doing in Goa? All of those questions will have to be answered as well. Authorities are also probing possible financial irregularities involving 42 companies linked to the brothers, all registered at the same Delhi address. Now, CNN News 18 has accessed a trail of documents that exposes the reality behind these grave allegations. The land was not just illegally obtained, but this particular establishment, the nightclub, was constructed illegally. There were several violations that were flagged multiple times, and yet no action was taken. Why was the police, why was the local administration in Goa not taking action against them? That's something that will have to be answered as well. But first up, let's tell you what these violations are. We have accessed a document, a map that was a part of the petition that was filed in Goa. The encircled area that you see, this particular area is where Birch by Romeo Lane stood before the inferno. This encircled area is where the nightclub was being run by the Luthras. This was constructed. But here's where the problem is. This is the layout plan of the property in question, and that establishes that the entire region, as per the Goa government, is classified as an ecological sensitive zone, which means that it cannot be converted into a settlement zone, especially a commercial one, according to land rules. So how did this happen? How have they been functioning for so long? This encircled region shows that it was essentially declared a salt pan. And yet, there was a commercial establishment that was functioning there. Conclusively, the land was never meant to be carrying out any sort of businesses. It was originally owned by Pradeep Gadi Amolkar, who is the whistleblower or a petitioner in this particular case, also questioning the local administration and the state government as to why they let this happen. CNN News 18 has also accessed the complaint of the Town Planning Department as dated December 2023. Contents of the complaint copy, which we've accessed for you here on CNN News 18, list points of how there are several violations and irregularities at this ecologically sensitive zone by the petitioners. they have pointed out and sought succor for not just this case, but several such other properties that seem to be on land that they do not own. It highlights that there is no development zone, that there is construction that is taking place, and it is a tragedy waiting to happen. Some of the points mentioned in the complaint include how there is illegal construction on tenanted land, how there is demolition of traditional gates and discharge of sewage into the Baga River. It also mentions that the operation of a discotheque in an unstable structure could cause a major tragedy, and that's exactly what happened. So this was a tragedy in making, a man-made one at that. There were lapses which led to the kind of fire that we saw that caused 25 lives to have been lost, and somebody needs to be held accountable. We have also accessed a notice by the Panchayat office. This is dated 2024, April. This is last year. The notice is issued under the inspection that was carried out by Panchayat officials. The notice noted that the zone carried out unauthorized constructions of shops, of restaurants, of at least 6 other structures and platforms, all of which is illegal. This demolition notice addressed to the property owner, Surinder Kumar Khosla, also added that there was no documentary evidence that was produced by him, and hence demolition should be carried out. That was back in April 2024. Despite that, here we are in December 2025, almost a year and a half later. That structure was standing there, and not just standing, clearly thriving. Despite this, the property continued to carry out these commercial activities. They did not even respond to any of these official complaints or notices that were sent out by these authorities multiple times. So why is that? Will these Panchayat officials then be pulled up for their negligence, for their lapses? Now, as per these documents from the Goa Coastal Zone Management, it's established that the authority had received at least 2 complaints about this particular property but did not act because they claimed it was outside their jurisdiction. The Goa Coastal Zone Management tried to dust its hands off despite these grave complaints. The authority went on to say that the structure was legal and that the coastal region zone notification wasn't a violation. There were no environmental cause, they said, and that the subject matter is out of their jurisdiction area. So they washed their hands off. The police wasn't looking at it. So who exactly was responsible for what happened there? The tragedy unfolded about a fortnight ago. The Luthras are now in the national capital. They eventually will be taken to Goa to face the law. But are there more people involved? And will that bigger fish finally be in the net next? That's what we ask on Plain Speak.
Indian agencies escorted them. 3 officials guarded them throughout the flight. They were seated in the last row of this Indigo flight. It was about a 5-hour long journey, 4.5, 5-hour long journey. Throughout this time, they were kept restricted, not allowed to interact much.
So as I was saying that once they are in Patiala House Court and custody is given to them, then we believe that the Goa police will take them back to Panjim today itself because the investigation in this case largely depends on them.
Point by point questioning as to what was the channel that was being used and how exactly the entire money was also flowing into running this establishment, and not just that, who all were involved into this syndicate, while the nexus was largely consisting of also likely the political backing.
So let's open this up. Savio Rodriguez, senior journalist, is now joining with us. Shashikant, former IPS, and Ashutosh Srivastav, lawyer with the Supreme Court, is with us as well. We, of course, will be joined in by our colleagues who are getting us details of what exactly is transpiring. Those are the visuals of the Luthra brothers, Saurav and Gaurav, who have now been brought to Delhi. They eventually will be taken to Goa, where the cases against them are piling up, and so is the proof. But Savio, let me ask you this. You know, this is part of a problem. It's not the only problem that we're looking at, because yes, these 2 individuals will come now and face the law, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. The problem is also that they were allowed to function the way they did, and that's something that needs to be looked at too.
The larger problem, which I would like to tell your viewers and the panelists, is that the concept of nightclub is legally alien to Goa. What they do issue are bar and restaurant licenses. Yet, over a period of the last several years, there have been nightclubs mushrooming in Goa without being legal at all. So there is no legal framework for a nightclub. Every single nightclub in Goa is illegal. Now, the local media and the audit team have been conducting a search of all the nightclubs in Goa over the last couple of days post the incident, you know. And interestingly, and also sadly, both, you've got 157 clubs that the High Court had even passed an order a couple of years ago. And out of that 157, only 117 of them have no permissions whatsoever. No permissions at all. The remaining ones of the 157 might have one or two permissions, but not all permissions. So all 157 of them do not have all permissions at all. So what do you really have in Goa? And I support the government, and which is completely surprised me that it is such a mess, a complete mess. The genesis of the Arpora tragedy starts at the village panchayat level. Now, you have mentioned about demolition. The demolition order given by the village panchayat was in the month of December 2023. We are in December 2025. That same note that you read out, the letter that you read out says 15 days. It's been over 2 years and they've not even acted on the demolition notice that they have issued. It goes to show the amount of corruption in the system right from the village panchayat level and going all the way on top, because I'm not willing to accept that the leaders on top or the political influencers on top or the bureaucratic level on top do not have a pie in this mess of corruption. We had put out an interview of an ex-officer, a former government officer, today on the Goa Chronicle. In that interview, the ex-officer tells us that in this area of nightclubs, the monthly kickbacks are between 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs a month. Now let's assume for a moment we are talking about 157 structures. Multiply that into the minimum of 10 lakhs. That's the kind of kickbacks they're getting on a monthly basis. That's huge. It's a massive corruption that is there, and it has shocked everyone in Goa. And so for me, as a journalist and somebody who supports the BJP, I am asking questions of the Chief Minister, because the fire department, the excise department, the police, the Goa Coastal Regulation Authority all come under the Chief Minister. So somebody has got to answer as to why such dereliction of duty has happened. Because the dereliction of duty has led to the deaths of 25, otherwise the club wouldn't have been in existence. It's not that the club has been there for 1 or 2 months. It's been running for over 2 years. And nobody in the system has found the tenacity to do their job, which is to check whether it is illegal or not. And the sad part is, every one of them is illegal. So are we going to demolish all of them now? Does the Chief Minister have the courage to demolish it all, or just give out, or just seal a few and then later on let them start again?
But that's even worse, isn't it? I mean, it's not that they can demolish every single one of those 157 structures, Savio, like you said, but it's not that they've started with 3 either. I mean, the only establishments that have been under the radar in the last fortnight are the 3 that were owned by these particular individuals. What about the rest?
No, they have sealed about 3 more in the last 3 days. Okay, but I'm talking about, you see, the problem is the systemic corruption. Firstly, there is no legal tenability of a nightclub. So technically, none of the nightclubs should have been existing in the first place.
Correct.
Because there's no law.
Correct.
You only have a bar and restaurant license. So if nightclubs are running, like both in North and South Goa, how are they serving liquor? Because there is no excise license for that, because there is no nightclub. So there is no regulation of the entire thing at all. So when they are completely illegal, it is the government that is the biggest loser, because the government is not getting revenue. But what they are getting is the kickbacks that range from 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs a month per nightclub. And that is where the problem is, because the state does. If there is nothing legal as a bar and restaurant, so today I can take a bar and restaurant license and set up a mammoth of a nightclub, and still it will be considered to be a nightclub and it's okay. There's no different rules for them. There's no proper fire protocols for them. There is no proper, coastal regulation acts for them. They just do what they did. And that's what the Birch nightclub was all about. It was completely on an illegal project that was on a questionable land which was eco-sensitive and shouldn't have been there in the first place. Every single authority in the Goa government did not even think of going after it. And when they did, they were stopped. When the agencies or the authorities went after them, they were stopped either by an IPS officer or an IAS officer or somebody within the political system. So, what do the Luthras brothers have? Are they so politically strong that they bend an entire administration? Are the nightclub owners stronger than the Goa government? That the Goa government does not have the temerity to go after the illegal structures, which according to our own law are illegal. So there has to be complacency. There has to be co-optness with the same corruption. And therefore the people of Goa are angry. And therefore we want an independent probe. That is why we are very excited. The conscious citizens of Goa are very excited that the High Court has taken suo motu cognizance, because the magisterial inquiry is again conducted by the government, which will be overseen by the government, and the questions that have been asked of the government, because the complacency starts right within the government administration.
Absolutely, and it seems like it is a well-oiled machine, Shashikant, because like what Savio has also been pointing out, that if this is something that has been going on for years together, there's a demolition order that was sent out by A particular organization, which is to be implemented by B particular organization, and there are many people that are involved in between. I'm not even talking about at the government level, but far below that, including the police officers who would be tasked with implementing these kind of orders. All of them seem to be part of this well-oiled machine, who perhaps line their pockets and have thrown caution to the wind, and that has cost 25 lives.
Yeah, I'll say to start with, hats off to Savio. He has given a graphic thing. It's monumental. It's corruption which has been institutionalized, it appears. And my one-line reply to this particular episode will be a Hindi idiom, "Baap bada na bhaiya, sabse bada rupaiya." That's what the story appears to be, sadly and unfortunately. And like Savio has said, there are so many of this kind of establishments which are in existence, and they have been show cause notices, but nobody has taken action, either fire department, police, other excise, etc., etc. And of course, as you rightly mentioned, all these key departments are normally held by the chief minister of the state. So I think it's not only a monumental failure; it's a question of institutionalized corruption. And it shows that probably the money rules, unfortunately, again. And as far as these things are concerned, I'm sure that now that the Honorable High Court is looking into it, they will certainly go into this thing and they'll try to fix the responsibilities on all the officials, whether it's police or X, Y, Z. And the question is, I don't know whether the High Court will examine the Chief Minister's position also or not, because of some legal complications or issues that might be involved. But I want and request that people of Goa, that if they've got up, they should be awake now, and they should ensure that such things doesn't happen at all, ever. And again, it's not the question only of Goa. This kind of thing I know is happening all over the country. I'm into social service and I go to various places. I ask, hey man, what is the license? What about the objections by the municipal authorities? Have they been taken care of? They just give a smile, they shrug their shoulders and move off. Hats off to you, ma'am, and to Savio for taking up this thing very, very diligently and in a very detailed manner. Thank you.
And we will keep asking those questions, because it's not just about these two individuals who've now been hauled back from Thailand 10 days later to face the law. But Ashutosh Srivastav, even as we're talking about the larger picture and everyone else who may be involved, yes, there is a need to look at the bigger fish, as they call it as well. But these two individuals have a lot to answer.
Yes, after the FIR, of course, the police is investigating the matter, and they will come to know, maybe through their statements, they will have many questions to ask him, and both of them would be replying accordingly. And then the investigating agency can look further as to who others could also be involved, or what their roles would be, and what is the reason, and who are the people responsible for this, why it is happening, and how many such clubs are functioning. So obviously these will be part of the investigation. Now, as we know that as per section 10 of the Passport Act, there is certain provision by which a passport of a person can be suspended or revoked, and this is what has been used by the passport authorities in this case. And there was a special certificate in these kind of cases are issued by the embassy of the country in which the accused has to be taken. Accordingly, this certificate was issued and they have been brought to India. Now, as we know that they are being produced before the magistrate court for the transit. Obviously, he may have his choice of filing his bail application. That will be decided on the merits whether any such bail can be granted at this stage for even transit or not. But if the bail is not granted, obviously he will be taken to the police station where the FIR is registered for further interrogation, and then he will be produced before the magistrate court in Goa, and this court will further decide, whether to give any custodial remand for investigation to the police or to, so that once it is granted, then obviously the investigation will take its course and then he will be interrogated and then he will be time to time produced before the court, and then also he will have his also legal rights to file the bail application there
Sure.
under 482, and also he can go for quashing maybe to the High Court. But as we know that the High Court itself has taken suo moto cognizance of this matter, so it will be further seen if the High Court is convinced with the investigation at the moment going on by the concerned police station, or is there any necessity to transfer it to any specialized agency or a central agency, or maybe to any SIT to be formed by the High Court if the investigation, if the court finds is not appropriate and it is not going into the right direction. So these things, because now it will be a court monitored investigation in a way,
Right.
and it is also concerning the public interest, public safety at large. And then of course the authorities who are also could be involved into these kind of activities being into run because without any such
Mr.
permission.
Srivastava, I want to ask you this because it seems that these two individuals, Saurabh and Gaurav Luthra, are habitual offenders, or so the agencies would like to call them. There are at least 42 alleged shell companies that they're being linked to that are now under investigation. It seems that they had a plan in mind to completely shirk responsibility. The minute they found out this happened, their phones were out, the tickets were booked, and they were out of the country. There
See,
was
this
not
would
one moment
depend-
of remorse.
Yes, that would depend as to what is the stage of those cases, and what has been found out. Whether is there any concrete evidence which has been submitted, or is there any court's order pertaining to the allegations being made. All these aspects have to be seen, because I think there are some other cases also which are pending in before different authorities and even the courts. So those aspects will also be, I think, will be seen by the investigating agency, and if required, those people may also be made witnesses in this case if they have any direct link or any sort of thread coming onto them for such investigation and for such offense or any such kind of incidents which has taken place. And most importantly, that how the clubs are running in those kind of small lanes where even fire brigade could not reach. So those aspects are very, very important, because these are concerning the lives of common people. It's a 25 people, who have died. Obviously, there will be certain legal rights even to the brothers, Luthra brothers, and also the interest of the victims are to be protected at the same time by the courts.
Absolutely.
Because I do not know about the other cases that would be decided on the merits of those cases, and if they have any direct link with this case may also be considered. But at the same
Sure.
time, the courts also have to see as to the sections which are implicated in this particular case, whether he should be prosecuted under the 105 of BNSS or 106, because that will make huge difference towards his legal assistance or help or kind of relief from the court. Because 105, as we know, is for culpable homicide, where the punishment can go to 10 years or even life imprisonment if it is proven. But if it is negligence by, death by negligence, if it is the case of 106, if the court comes to a conclusion, then that makes the offense bailable. So there are many other aspects also which the courts will have to further go and ascertain based on the investigations being conducted and the
Sure.
evidences being
But the fact that
collected.
they decided to run and escape the law for at least 10 days is not going to do them any favor as far as this
No,
particular case
no,
goes. I
that
mean, they could
he
have come
was,
here and faced the law.
No, see, for that those 10 days, I think he had already applied for certain bail applications through his legal counsel, through his lawyer, which the law permits to do so. So
Sure.
that cannot be treated as a simple absenteeism from the court. However, the authorities have followed the due process of law while bringing him, from Thailand to India,
Sure.
as I explained already
And
under Section 10 of the Passports Act.
sure. But Shashikant, as far as weeding out a few bad apples is concerned, it has begun now. But if a cleanup is required, a complete one at that, for a problem like this to never occur again, how difficult do you think that is? And is there political will in a country like ours to do it?
Ma'am, it's totally impossible. You know, the Punjab drug racket was exposed by me, and we have been talking about big fish. Not so one so-called big fish was ever hauled up, though everybody knows about it. In this case, the kind of legal system, criminal justice system we have in this country, and the criminal justice system starts right from the bottom and goes right up to the top. It appears that our very criminal justice system is faulty, and some with pain in my heart, I'll say, I don't see that anything serious is going to happen in this case. In this case, also, everything will be sort of wishy-washy. And sorry for saying this thing. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Yes, that something happens, that some tangible thing happens, and the persons are caught persons who were caught napping, who were sleeping, who were eating away the money and sleeping away to glory. Thank you, ma'am.
Xavier Rodriguez, I'll give you the last word on this because, it is the people in Goa that are most aggrieved here. Yes, the entire country is talking about it now, but more often than not, we do see that such cases are spoken of during the time that they are being investigated, and then they're all forgotten. And then when a similar tragedy, hopefully not ever occurs, then we have the same conversation all over again. How do we weed out that problem?
I don't think the people of Goa are going to forget this tragedy for a very simple reason. This is the first time in our state, which is considered to be Devbhoomi, you have 25 innocent people who've lost their lives because of the dereliction of duty of people within the administration and because of the arrogance and the corruption of the owners of the Birch nightclub. Now, the interesting part in this entire thing is that when the incident happened in the middle of the night, it was around 1:30 or 1:20 to 1:30 that these two criminals, murderers is what I call them, because culpable homicide not amounting to murder is a joke. They should be charged with murder, including the people within the government administration system should also have an FIR registered against them for murder, because none of this would have ever happened if the jobs were done the manner in which the jobs are supposed to do.
Absolutely.
25 people would have been alive, 25 people would have been with their families, and we would not have blood on our hands. But as Goans, today we have blood on our hands because the government we put in place, a government that I support personally as well, has failed in its basic responsibility of ensuring that there is no dereliction of duty when it comes to matters of such importance. But the Luthras had the information to go away, claiming to be that they're going on some business, right at booking a ticket at 1:18 in the morning and then going to the airport and flying to Thailand. We all know about it. The fact of the matter is there's somebody in the system that helped them. What we want as Goans is that this blood that is on our hands of innocent people, they get justice, and justice is done to them. May have not happened in other parts of India, but we are the same people who shut down mining in Goa when there was illegal mining.
Yes.
We shut down a lot of other things in Goa when the things are not going wrong. We will shut down the nightclub culture in Goa and get justice to these 25 people. And I'm saying that as a person who loves Goa and who's a son of Goa, and we will do that, and the rest of India will see it.
And we do hope that we never find ourselves in a situation like this ever again, that there is some sort of political will that we see to shake up the system, to clean up the system, so that no more innocent lives are snuffed out like this. I have to leave it there. I thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here and sharing your perspective. But the Luthra brothers are back in India. We are getting more details of what's coming next their way. In fact, what we're learning by our sources is that at 7:30 p.m., which is in about an hour's time from now, is when they are going to be produced in the Patiala House Court here in the national capital. before which they are now en route to the Indira Gandhi Hospital in Dwarka for a medical checkup. This of course is routine. This is the procedure that needs to be followed. Anshul, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details on this. Anshul, everything seems to be on track for the moment. 7:30 is when those proceedings perhaps will begin in the Patiala House Court. What does it look like? Will the Luthra brothers be taken to Goa tonight itself?
Well, yes, it is very, very likely that the Luthra brothers would be taken to Goa by tonight itself, but that all depends upon the time that will be taken inside Patiala House Court, because the last flight that will leave from Delhi towards Goa will be around 9:30 p.m. itself. So before that, they need to make sure that all the legal procedures are completed. And remember, it took a lot of time for the Goa police to actually complete the legal procedures at the Indira Gandhi International Airport. The flight landed at approximately 2:15 p.m. itself, whereas they left the airport only after 5:30 p.m. So it took them almost 3 hours to make sure that each and every legal procedure is completed inside the airport itself. And the next set of procedure that needs to be done is for the medical legal certificate to be made, and that will be made at the Indira Gandhi Hospital in Dwarka. And once that is done, then it will take some time for them to reach over here at Patiala House Court, because remember, this is peak hour traffic that we are talking about. So 7:30 p.m. is the timeline that they have at this point in time given to the magistrate over here at Patiala House Court, that by 7:30 p.m. they will be able to present him in front of the court, but it could take some more time as well. And once that is done, it is likely that the Goa police will seek for a 36-hour transit remand,
yes,
which means that they will have 36 hours for the accused to be taken to Goa. So if not tonight, then by early morning tomorrow as well, they have their time in their hand that they could take both these accused back to Goa, and then
so we'll have to see what transpires in court in about an hour's time or so. For the moment though, Anshul, thank you so much for getting us the latest. Shifting focus to the major political showdown that erupted in Parliament. This is over Centre's decision to replace the landmark rural employment scheme, the MGNREGA scheme, with the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Grameen. From storming the well of the House in the Lok Sabha to staging protests in the premises outside, the opposition led by the Congress is up in arms. While the government tried to allay the fears, the opposition remained adamant with its contentions, calling this an attempt to erase Mahatma Gandhi's legacy. The opposition believes that the new move will shift the financial burden to state governments, because initially MGNREGA had 100% funding from the centre. Now it's going to be a 60-40 ratio. The NDA government has maintained that the aim is to create a rather durable rural infrastructure, and states need to do their part. The opposition feels that this would warrant unnecessary expenditure on new stationery, on new paperwork. The NDA says that the new law aligns more with socio-economic changes that India is undergoing. The opposition says this is an attempt to erase Mahatma Gandhi's legacy, that they want to take off Mahatma Gandhi's name from this flagship scheme. NDA says this is merely an attempt to incorporate other social security schemes as well. What's in a name after all is what they asked. But there is a need for policy revamp. This is not just about nomenclature. Here's what the UPA era states in reference to this rural employment scheme. There were several discrepancies, there were several misappropriation allegations that came to the fore, which is why many suggested that it was time to relook at this policy. In April 2011, the Supreme Court had wrapped the union and the state governments, many of whom were under the Congress, noting that the disbursal of 33,500 crores out of a total fund of 42,500 crores for the year 2009-2010. The bench had raised serious doubts that the money was being diverted or misappropriated before it actually reached the people that it was intended to. Then in July 2011, a total of 2,250 complaints regarding irregularities were noted. This was irregularities in implementation of the scheme that was received by the government. Then 2 years later, in April 2013, out of 1.2 crore MGNREGA job cards in Madhya Pradesh alone, at least 53 lakh were reportedly fake. So where was all that money going? The same month, a CAG report showed that employment under the MGNREGA scheme had declined, while 128 crore was being misused and work worth a staggering 4,000 crores was incomplete. This was its review of the rural job scheme. So when there were discrepancies that have been highlighted time and again, should we not have a newer policy with better checks, with better accountability? That's the question we're asking here on Plain Speak. Who is it really, the government or the opposition, that seems to be weakening this fight?
हर योजना का नाम बदलने की जो सनक है ये समझ में नहीं आती है।
हम केवल महात्मा गांधी जी को मानते नहीं है, हम महात्मा गांधी जी की भी मानते हैं।
हम पॉलिसी के बदलाव के खिलाफ नहीं है। समय समय पे हर बिल को देखा चाहिए, सोचना चाहिए।
ये भाग जाएंगे, ये सुनेंगे ना फिर भाग जाएंगे, चर्चा का मांग करता फिर भागेंगे, ऐसा नहीं होता है। देखो ये दीवानो ये काम मत करो, राम का नाम बदनाम मत करो। एंड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर केस इट्स एवरी
Let's open this up. Dr. Kushal Kant Mishra is spokesperson of the BJP. Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress, is with us. Avinash Paswan, spokesperson of the JDU. And political analyst who backs the TMC, Shabnam Dev, will be also with us. Sujata Paul, let me begin by asking you. There are several issues that have been raised by the opposition, including the Congress, both inside and outside the parliament today, that this essentially weakens the entire scheme and the motive of giving rural employment. But the government says that it was always weaker under the UPA. There was so much leakage, there was so much money that was being lost that we are revamping the policy.
How great is that? If you're revamping the policy, why do you have to change the name of the policy? First and foremost, this is an insult to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, because these people hate the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. They hate the idea of empowering the poor, and that is the basic crux of the matter here. When you're talking about various things over here, one must not forget that there should have been prior consultation with the opposition parties, even if you wanted to introduce this bill to repeal MGNREGA. But they did not do that. Why? This is not a dictatorship. This is a democracy where you will have to take on board everybody who is in parliament because they are representatives of the people. However, having said that, one must not forget what the government is trying to do. It is trying to exercise centralized control over the whole program now. It is giving an option to the states to walk out of the scheme if they cannot bear that 40%. They are trying to demean the poor because when you have these normative allocations, people are definitely paid when the state governments are not going to be able to fulfill what comes not just as a properly programmed scheme, but also when there's a sudden spike, like during Corona. When the pandemic hit us, there were many people who opted for the scheme. The basic problem, and also allows people who need jobs, asking for jobs with the states not being able to refuse work to them. You are attacking those poor people who will ask you for work. Because this whole matter clearly shows that when you are talking about the name change, it will be a whole lot of burden, not just on the exchequer, but also removing the name of Mahatma Gandhi with the name of whom comes with the idea of inclusivity, with the idea of equity. Is it going to be there? Now, this 40% burden on the states, it's actually equal to about more than 55,000 crore combined for the states. Do you think everybody is going to be willing to bear this? That means it is clearly to disempower the poor, and that is why this is being done.
So you're disempowering the poor, Dr. Mishra, you're disempowering the state government, putting extra burden on them and giving them no power. That's the allegation that the Congress is making and the opposition as a whole seems to be making.
पूनम, सबसे पहले तो नाम की बात कर लेते हैं क्योंकि नाम पे पॉलिटिक्स हो रही है, उसके बाद काम पे आते हैं। नाम की पॉलिटिक्स कहते हैं 1980 में जब इंदिरा जी ने इस योजना को बनाया था तो उसका नाम था राष्ट्रीय ग्रामीण रोजगार योजना। उसके बाद राजीव गांधी जी जब आए थे उन्होंने इसका नाम रख दिया था जवाहर रोजगार योजना। उसके बाद 2004 में सोनिया मनमोहन की जब सरकार चल रही थी तो इसका नाम था नेशनल नरेगा, नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी स्कीम। उसके बाद 2005 में मनरेगा कर दिया गया। तो क्या ये लोग जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी का अपमान चाहते थे जो उनका नाम बदला? तो नाम की पॉलिटिक्स तो ये रही। इसके अलावा अगर सिर्फ नाम की बात करते हैं तो पूरे देश में हजारों ऐसे योजनाएं हैं, मेरे पास पूरी लिस्ट है, बहुत सारे विश्वविद्यालय हैं, बहुत सारी योजनाएं हैं जिसमें गांधी जी का परसेंटेज लेस देन 10% है और 90% में ये एक फैमिली है। तो नाम की अगर जो बात करते हैं तो नाम का तो रिप्लाई मेरा ये रहा। अब काम की बात कर लेते हैं। मैम ने एक डेटा गलत बोला कि कोविड के बाद बहुत सारे लोगों ने एम्प्लॉयमेंट लेने की कोशिश किसके थ्रू। डेटा ये कहता है कि कोविड के बाद केवल 7.6% फैमिलीज ने 100 डेज का काम अपना पूरा किया, 7.6% फैमिलीज में। इसके अलावा अब बात आती है कि अपग्रेडेशन कैसे हुआ। अब ये देखिए कि अगर हम बात करते हैं कि जो विलेज पॉवर्टी इंडेक्स है, ग्रामीण बेरोजगारी दर, अगर हम बात करते हैं, वो इनके जमाने में, या तो ये कहें कि जब से ये स्कीम शुरू हुई है तब से अगर मैं बात करता हूं, तो उस समय थी 43%, 2012 में ये घट करके हुई है मेरे ख्याल से 36%, आज ये घट करके लेस देन 4% के आसपास आ गई है। ये विलेज अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट की बात मैं कर रहा हूं। ठीक, तो अगर कोई चीजें चेंज हो रही तो उसके हिसाब से हमें पॉलिसी चेंज करना पड़ेगा। प्रधानमंत्री जी थे हमारे राजीव गांधी जी, वो कहते थे कि हमारे देश में हम 1 रुपया भेजते हैं, वो उसमें 15 पैसा पहुंचता था। आज हमारे यहाँ डीबीटी के थ्रू जो ट्रांसफर हो रहा है उससे बहुत सारी चीजें कम हुई हैं, लेकिन उसके बाद भी स्टेट का जो अभी का जो करंट डेटा है उसके अकॉर्डिंग करीब 2025 में ही 193.67 करोड़ का इसमें घपला हुआ है। 2025-26 का डेटा ये कहता है कि 23 स्टेट में वो जगह ही नहीं है जहां पे एम्प्लॉयमेंट दिया जा सके। तो हमें पॉलिसी का अपग्रेडेशन करना पड़ेगा डिपेंडिंग ऑन नीड्स।
बट मिश्रा जी ये सवाल उठाए जा रहे हैं कि पॉलिसी रिवैम्प करने के आड़ में आप सारा कंट्रोल ले रहे हैं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से, लेकिन उनसे 40% बर्डन शेयर करवा रहे हैं कि पैसे वो दे लेकिन कंट्रोल उनके पास ना रहे।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, बहुत अच्छा सवाल है पूनम जी। अगर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट 23 स्टेट का आंकड़ा ये कहता है, वो हमारे स्टेट हो या आपके स्टेट हो, कोई भी स्टेट हो, 23 स्टेट का आंकड़ा ये करता है कि वहां पे घपले चल रहे हैं, वहां जगह ही नहीं है, वहां काम करने के लिए लोग ही नहीं है, इंटरेस्टेड ही नहीं, एम्प्लॉयमेंट ही उनको नहीं दिया जा रहा है, और एम्प्लॉयमेंट जितना भी दिया गया है उसका परसेंटेज बहुत कम है। तो उसमें अभी तो जो स्टेट घपला कर रहा है वो सब उसके ऊपर है। अब इसमें इस कानून के नए कानून के तहत ये एक प्रावधान डाला गया है कि अगर कोई स्टेट कंपलसरी इसको नहीं देगा, जब 15 दिन से ज्यादा अगर उसका टाइम बीत जाएगा, तो उसको उस मजदूर को बेरोजगारी भत्ता देना पड़ेगा, और वो भत्ता केवल स्टेट देगा। यानी कि आप शेयरिंग के साथ जब तक आप स्ट्रिक्ट नहीं करेंगे तब तक कुछ नहीं हुआ। और तीसरी चीज और आखिरी चीज मैं बोल करके बात खत्म करूंगा, एक सेंट्रल ग्रामीण रोजगार काउंसिल बनाने का डिसीजन लिया गया है। इसमें 5 केवल सरकारी लोग होंगे, जिसमें स्टेट और सेंटर दोनों के लोग होंगे, और बाकी 15 लोग पब्लिक के होंगे, पुअर बैकग्राउंड के होंगे, जो मजदूर संगठन होंगे उनके लोग होंगे। तो यहाँ पर पॉलिसी रिवैम्प हुआ है जिसके बारे में कोई क्रिटिसिज्म ये नहीं कर सकते। हाँ, इन्हें नाम में समस्या हो सकती है, वो इनका काम है।
नाम में तो समस्या है ही। एंड शब्दम दे, as far as West Bengal is concerned, we've always had shadow boxing or fights between the TMC and the BJP at the center. The center has not been giving enough funds, especially as far as MGNREGA goes to West Bengal. But now a lot of it will be in the state government's hand if the ratio is going to be 60-40. The state government can then decide how much fund they want to give where. Why is that a problem as well then?
Good evening, Poonam, and good evening to my all panelists. That what now spokesperson BJP has reiterated, I am just defending that it is the now not issue of employment under the name of replacing Mahatma Gandhi. It is in the guile of that democracy to be scuffled in the hands of BJP, and whole India will be under their control. And state government has nothing to do with, because federal structure has been destroyed by BJP, central government. Because by enacting this, not only replacing Mahatma Gandhi's name, but also enacting this act after implementation of new amendment, then whole system and issue for unemployment, state if not creating employment for the laborer who will be out of job, all are just lame excuses just to scuffle democracy and to start autocracy, just like Korea, it will start. And this is the whole plan game and plan scripted, systematic scripted by BJP, one after another, whether in Bengal, whether in anywhere, and why state will be giving so much contribution? What is central government doing with lot of taxes collected from every nose and corners?
But states also
Only
collect taxes, ma'am. If that is the logic that's given, Shabnam, the states also collect taxes.
State collects
Should
taxes,
states
but
not
more,
have
more
accountability
taxes,
then?
more contribution, larger part of taxes are being collected by BJP and looted by BJP, central now. And this federal structure is being destroyed in toto. And they are trying to establish autocracy, dictatorship, what my learned panelist has already, she has already agitated. That is the main, their mensria, that is their main intention. And that is going on.
Sure.
पूनम,
Sure.
पूनम,
Dr. Mishra,
पूनम,
Dr. Mishra,
एक छोटा सा रिप्लाई।
जी, 10 seconds. Avinash Paswan is also waiting. 10 seconds, sir.
नहीं, आप अविनाश जी को बोल दीजिए उसके बाद, क्योंकि मुझे थोड़ा सा टाइम चाहिए होगा। इनके फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर पे कुछ बोलना चाहूंगा।
Avinash Paswan, Bihar is one of the states that has major share as far as MGNREGA goes. Do you think that the new scheme that the government is going to bring will have any impact for the worse as far as the scheme goes, or as far as guarantee for rural employment goes? Because states get less power according to the opposition as far as this bill goes. That's one of the biggest problems that they have.
See, first of all, I would like to say that listening to the Congress spokesperson, I mean, the madam was saying that this is a centralized kind of control, But I would like to differ in that. Well, when there is a 100% stake of the state, that is centralization. Rather, here when there is a distribution of 60 to 40%, right? 60 is to 40 in the ratio. The intention behind making this distribution is that now the state can directly, look after the quality of the work, and also can, can be accountable for the kind of work that is being going on. Also, one of the provisions of the act also talks about the kind of nature of the work that will be under this particular scheme. There are four kind of work which is prescribed. One is water security, then core rural infrastructure, then livelihood related climate and disaster mitigation. So earlier, when MGNREGA, where there was no such thing as to what kind of work will be undertaken, where in this particular law there is a fixed kind of prescription by the law itself. It is a statutory mandatory that the work which will be undertaken under this particular law will be of this nature, and this will connect with the Viksit Gram Panchayat, and which will finally be connected to the Viksit Bharat. So we will have to understand the nature of the work. Also, there is no burden as such on the states, because right from the 2005, when the Finance Commission fund devolution share was 30.5%, today it is 41%, right? So the kind of devolution of the fund has also increased. So there is no question of burden on the states. Also, the states now can can ask the central government that the work will be done in this particular, and that is why this law is, the opposition is basically making politics of the law rather than understanding the intention of the law. See, Mahatma Gandhi wanted a self villages, right? So if you see, there is a particular provision in the act which talks about the self-sufficient villages, meaning that all kind of work which will be done in the villages will create employment, or also a better life for the villages, and that will finally be connected to the Viksit Bharat, which is the aim of the present government. And that is why I understand that this law is in a way giving tribute to the real concept philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi ji, rather than making this mere politics, cheap politics of that changing of the name.
Sujata Paul, you seem to be disagreeing with a lot of things that both the BJP and the JDU have said.
I'll tell you why. I just heard the BJP spokesperson say that after pandemic, I'm talking about during the pandemic, and when Rajiv Gandhi ji said 15% reaches people, he said that is why I'm bringing Panchayati Raj, so that instead of 15%, 100% reaches people. Now coming to what he was talking about, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, that's exactly what we are saying, that in the pre-2005 era, the schemes which are there, whether it was Jawahar Rozgar Yojana or employment assurance. They did not offer any kind of legal guarantee for a job. Here, the guarantee in MGNREGA was that if I ask for a job, you have to give it to me. You cannot say that you will not give it to me. There is no place for you. No, this was a right to labor, which was guaranteed by the MGNREGA. And as far as the legally mandated employment here, what is happening is that the states will have to notify 60 days in advance, annually, when no public work will be done. So what will happen at that time is there will be no jobs and people will be forced to go into farmlands and work for others during the harvest season. That means you will not get a job which the government is guaranteeing to you. And also one very important thing, this is an assault on the representation of the SCs, the ST, the OBC, the minorities, and even women, because unlike MGNREGA, the bill has removed the mandatory representation of women, SCs, STs, OBCs, minorities. And what is being said here is that the state can decide on it. Whereas when this part was centralized, then the control
So then, Dr. Mishra, last 30 seconds, please. I'm completely out of time. Dr. Mishra, then is the government, the BJP, willing that if there are certain changes that have to be made, getting on board all stakeholders, including the opposition, and the government is open to do that?
पूनम, पहले तो ये जो हमारी दोस्त ने कहा कि महिलाओं की भागीदारी कम हुई है, तो मैंने जो स्टैंडर्ड जो हमारे पास डेटा अवेलेबल है उसके अकॉर्डिंग इनके समय में 2012 के पहले जो डेटा था उसमें महिलाओं की भागीदारी 4.8% थी, जो आज बढ़कर 56% हो गई। प्लीज मत बोलिए। अरे मैडम, मैं आपके बीच में नहीं बोला, प्लीज। मैं आपके बीच में बोला ही नहीं। अरे भाई प्लीज प्लीज, तो ये कोई तरीका नहीं हुआ। सुजाता जी प्लीज, अगर आप गलत आंकड़े बताएंगे तो मुझे बोलना पड़ेगा। और इन्होंने कहा जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी के नाम।
Clearly this fight between the opposition and the treasury benches, both inside the parliament and outside, between the Congress-led opposition and the BJP-led NDA, will continue, and we'll keep a track of that. But I have to leave it there. I thank you all for joining us here on this edition of Plain Speak.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
So let's open this up. Savio Rodriguez, senior journalist, is now joining with us. Shashikant, former IPS, and Ashutosh Srivastav, lawyer with the Supreme Court, is with us as well. We, of course, will be joined in by our colleagues who are getting us details of what exactly is transpiring. Those are the visuals of the Luthra brothers, Saurav and Gaurav, who have now been brought to Delhi. They eventually will be taken to Goa, where the cases against them are piling up, and so is the proof. But Savio, let me ask you this. You know, this is part of a problem. It's not the only problem that we're looking at, because yes, these two individuals will come now and face the law, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. The problem is also that they were allowed to function the way they did, and that's something that needs to be looked at too.
The larger problem, which I would like to tell your viewers and the panelists, is that the concept of nightclub is legally alien to Goa. What they do issue are bar and restaurant licenses. Yet, over a period of the last several years, there have been nightclubs mushrooming in Goa without being legal at all. So there is no legal framework for a nightclub. Every single nightclub in Goa is illegal. Now, the local media and the audit team have been conducting a search of all the nightclubs in Goa over the last couple of days post the incident, you know. And interestingly, and also sadly, both, you've got 157 clubs that the High Court had even passed an order a couple of years ago. And out of that 157, only 117 of them have no permissions whatsoever. No permissions at all. The remaining ones of the 157 might have 1 or 2 permissions, but not all permissions. So all 157 of them do not have all permissions at all. So what do you really have in Goa? And I support the government, and you know, which is completely surprised me, that it is such a mess. A complete mess. The genesis of the Arpora tragedy starts at the village panchayat level. Now, you have mentioned about demolition. The demolition order given by the village panchayat was in the month of December 2023. We are in December 2025. That same note that you read out, the letter that you read out says 15 days. It's been over 2 years and they've not even acted on the demolition notice that they have issued. It goes to show the amount of corruption in the system right from the village panchayat level and going all the way on top, because I'm not willing to accept that the leaders on top or the political influencers on top or the bureaucratic level on top do not have a pie in this mess of corruption. We had put out an interview of an ex-officer, a former government officer, today on the Goa Chronicle. In that interview, the ex-officer tells us that in this area of nightclubs, the monthly kickbacks are between 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs a month. Now let's assume for a moment we are talking about 157 structures. Multiply that into the minimum of 10 lakhs. That's the kind of kickbacks they're getting on a monthly basis.